Reb Dovidel of Talna. It was the first night of Hanukkah. And he was standing by the licht, and he was ready to light. He was mamash with the candle, all the kavanas, l'shem yichud, the shmoyne begadim, the whole thing, ready to go. And as he's about to light, he pulls back and he tries again, and finally he surrenders, puts the candle down, and he calls over this very tall chassid. And he says, "Come here." And this is in front of the whole audience, all in the bleachers, however it was. And this tall chassid, call him Rav Moshe, I think called Rav Moshe the Lange, the longer Moshe. He was a tall, skinny chassid. And in front of everyone, in front of the entire Talmud Chasidim in the Bis Medrash, he says, "Rav Moshe," he says, "Do you love your wife?" So the Hasidim, I don't know if they had mics, 2 mics, I don't know how it was over there, but they've never seen anything like this before. So maybe the Rebbe is losing it. And the Chassid himself was so taken aback, embarrassed, uncomfortable. And again, the Rebbe looks and says, "Moshe, hast du lieb für dein Weib? You love your wife?" And he says, "Okay, I guess I have to respond." He says, "Yeah, I love my wife." How romantic. In the middle of the Talmud Bis Medrash on Chanukah, not understanding what's going on over here. And he thought he was done. He puts him back on the grill. He says, "David, let me ask you a question. How do you tell your wife, who was known to be very short wife, he was very tall, she was very short. How do you tell your wife, 'I love you'?" Now he really thought he says, "I'm sorry." He says, "Yeah, how do you tell your wife I love you?" And he said, "Well, if you want to know exactly," he says, "I go close to her and I say, 'I love you.'" He said, "Yeah, but you're very tall and she's very short. So maybe she doesn't hear you sometimes. So how do you make sure that she hears it?"
How tall was the guy?
Very.
And sounds like
8'6" and she was 3'9". I don't know.
Exactly. And he said, "Well, I have to bend down and tell her I love you." And the Rebbe pressed again and said, "What happens if she still can't hear you?" And all the Hasidim are waiting. Where on earth is this going? What does that have to do with Hanukkah? And he said, "Well, in those situations, when I'm bending down and she still can't hear me, then she'll have to go on her tippy toes." With that, Reb Dovidel took his licht, went back to the menorah, and he sinned. He lit. Obviously, there was bahala, there was utter confusion that permeated the entire Bis Medrash. The Hasidim went over to the Rebbe after and said, "Rebbe, what on earth just happened? We've never seen anything like this." And he said, "I'll explain to you." He said, "As I was lighting, it struck me. I got very nervous. I had some sfeikis in my mind. I'm about to do a mitzvah. As we're getting closer to Chanukah, Rosh Chodesh Kislev is already in the air. As we're getting closer to Chanukah, as I'm about to light the menorah, I started hanging with suffix that I'm about to be mistabek in the Eibishter. And it's a way of doing his mitzvahs, his tzivuyim, of making him happy. Through our mitzvahs, we're bringing him nachas ruach. And I started having sfeikis, like, is he going to hear me? Is he looking at me? Is he counting my mitzvah?" And he said, then, as I'm lighting, I'm like, "You know what? I thought about you, Rav Moshe, and I wanted to hear from you. What happens when there's distance between you and your wife? Because the Eibishter loves us. Just like a husband and wife. We're the kala, we're Hashem's kala. We're Hashem's doidi. And when you told me that sometimes you bend down, then I thought to myself, okay, it must be that sometimes the Eibishter, when I feel distant, he bends down as well. But when I still wasn't sure that there might be distance, there might be a gap, and I wasn't sure that's going to get filled, I pressed you again. And he told me sometimes the Kala, your wife, she has to go on her tippy toes. And that was a chizik for me too, that even if the Eibishter is coming down and there's still a gap, I just have to go onto my tippy toes, and then Hashem could say, I love you.